Good morning. I'm Scott Severance from the New Jersey School of Woodwork, and today we're going to be building a veneered chessboard table. It's a 102 level class. We'll be using veneer. We're going to be doing hand-cut dovetails, mortising on the legs for the table, and of course finishing to make it all look beautiful. So let's get started. One of the first things we're going to do is clean up our stock. So we're going to make a nice clean cut here so we're ready for mortising. First thing we want to do is set up our blade height at a safe distance. Just beyond the top of the piece we're going to trim, just enough. We're going to bring the piece over and take just a little sliver off. And now our fence is set. We need a push stick to make sure our fingers stay safe, and of course our safety glasses. So here we go. Let's make this cut. Okay, we have all four of our legs squared up. Stock is prepared. Our layout lines are on our stock where our mortises are going to be. Let's put them on the machine and adjust accordingly. We lock them down, get them nice and secure, tighten up that clamp, and adjust our machine to where our mortise locations are laid out on the leg. And here we go. So the next thing we need to work on is our dovetails for our drawer. They call this joint a dovetail because the actual joint is shaped like a dovetail. If you look closely there, the tail board is shaped like a dovetail. We always use the tails on the sides of our drawer because it behaves like a wedge. As you would imagine, if I pull on the front of the drawer, this acts as a wedge within the joint and keeps the joint from coming apart. They've been using these for hundreds of years and they work really well. Let me show you how to make one. The first thing we need are 4 pieces of wood of equal thickness. Really helpful to have equal thickness. We need to transfer the information of thickness from one piece to the other to help us cut our dovetails. We lay this piece down on the bench, slide the other piece right up to it, and using a really sharp pencil, just draw a line. And now I have this piece of information communicated to this board. Now to do this, we need to do both sides. So when we lay out our dovetails, we know where we're cutting to a line. The other way we can do this is by using a sliding square, a small one like this. Works really well. Loosen this up. Slide it down to capture the information, and we can also transfer that to our board this way. Either way works. Now that we have the information transferred onto the board, we can use a dovetail marker, and they make several types of these. I like this one. It's got a square edge on one side and an angled edge on the other, so it's easy for me to work with. So we pick a line we want to start with, and it doesn't have to really be anything. I like an arbitrary, what looks good to me. So I start with a straight line on both sides. Then using the angled side of the marker, I can mark all the way across the board, flip the marker around, and lay out the other side. You can see just by drawing this line and turning this marker around and drawing that line, I've drawn that dovetail shape. So now we just cut to the lines and remove the waste. I'm using a dovetail saw because it's designed for ripping, and ripping is when you're cutting into the long grain of the wood. So it's very useful that it has very fine teeth. It has a rigid back, so it maintains straight as you're making your cut. That's the saw you want to use. These angled cuts seem really hard, but it's really easy once you get the hang of it. So now it's time to move on to making our chessboard. Select two colors that contrast, and the international standard for a chessboard is a 2-inch square. So I've made this little fixture here to aid in cutting those squares. We have a 2-inch spacer placed up against a straight edge, and then an edge to cut on placed up against that. Remove the 2-inch spacer and make the veneer cut. Firmly holding the edge against the straight edge, slowly draw it down and make your slice through the piece of veneer. It only takes a couple of strokes if you have a sharp veneer knife. We remove our piece and we cut 8 of each one of these. And once they're complete, we tape them together, turn them 90 degrees, and make a cross cut. So we have our veneers all taped up and bonded nicely to the substrate. This border placed around the outside edge, making the board bigger and a little easier to play. Sanded out to 240 grit. Looks pretty good. Ready for finish. Let's put some shellac on it and bring this piece to life. We dip our rag into a little bit of finish and get it soaked. Let the excess drip off. And starting at the point furthest away from us, start applying. As we move back toward ourselves, just keeping nice, even strokes. So you can apply multiple coats. It's alcohol-based, so it dries really quickly. It's non-toxic. And there you have it. That's first coat. We give it about 20 minutes, let it dry, and we come back, a light scuffing, and we apply a second coat. You can build this up to 8 or 10 coats, depending on how much shine you want. So while the other board was drying, I thought I'd show you a piece I built earlier. The mortises have all been glued up to the legs. The top has been attached to the base with screws. The whole piece has been sanded, finished in shellac quite nicely. So come and build one with us at the New Jersey School of Woodwork.